Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, January the 17th. We're going to cover Friday's 7-game NBA slate, go position by position, just talk about some plays that really stand out to me the most looking at this slate the night before. We'll go through each position, we'll talk about some plays I like, we'll hit on some core plays as well. As we do go through each position, we'll build out an early core of 5 plays. 5 players I specifically see the night before that I like for DraftKings, and then 5 players that I like for Yahoo's salaries as well. Just like always, guys, before we get started, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. Also, if you haven't yet, you can follow me on Twitter, link down below at DFS by Noah. I am very active over on Twitter. If you want to give me a follow, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, you can check out all the exclusive content I do have available over on Patreon. I will be running a $100 free roll contest for Friday's NBA slate. It'll only be available to Patreon members. The link to get into that contest is posted on Patreon. So if you've ever thought about joining the Patreon, I'd suggest you get in by the end of Friday, specifically by the lock, so that way you can get into the free roll contest. It's $100, it's $50 to first, $30 to second, and then $20 to third, so $100 in total prizes. That's money coming out of my pocket, giving it back to you guys, giving back to those that do support my content, specifically the content over on Patreon. I have a ton of content over there, articles, private videos. I give updated core plays as well. I have a Discord chat you can join. Just a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff goes over on Patreon. You can check all that I have to offer. Link down below. You can see all the NBA content I do have to offer. I post NBA content Monday through Friday. I will have stuff up for NFL for the 2-game NFL slate on Patreon. Some of it will go up Friday night. My article for the slate will go up Friday night. I'll have a lineup building video go up Saturday, and then Sunday morning upload my closing thoughts for the NFL slate. I will also have a video up on YouTube probably on Friday morning going up for the NFL slate, 2-game conference championship slate. So a ton of stuff tomorrow, NBA slate, NFL video, content over on Patreon, $100 free roll contest, so much stuff tomorrow that pretty much I'm looking forward to. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at Friday's NBA slate. We'll start off at point guard. So at the top, we do have Luka, most expensive option on the slate, 12-4 at home against Portland. Very favorable spot here for Luka. Portland this season, pretty fast-paced team. They do rank 11th in pace. They're not that good defensively. They rank 24th in defensive rating. Luka is very expensive. If I'm going to pay this price tag for him, it all comes down to whether or not Kristaps Porzingis plays. Like, if Porzingis plays, that does take a slight bump to Luka's usage. His usage, his fantasy point per minute average isn't as high when he gets to play without Porzingis. So that's just kind of a wait and see for me. Also, if we don't have a lot of value, it is going to be tough to get to Luka. If a lot of value opens up on Friday, then maybe it'll be easier to do so. Right now, I don't think I'm going to be prioritizing Luka on the slate. I do like some of the other options that we have. Like Trae Young for 10-2, I like quite a bit against the Spurs. Normally, this is a matchup I would avoid, but the Spurs, they're not that good of a defensive team, not nearly the defensive team they used to be. Looking at defensive rating, the Spurs are, if I can find them, they're 21st in defensive rating. In terms of pace, they're just kind of middle of the pack. They're ranked 12th in pace, towards the top half of the league. Really is a good spot for Trae Young. He did put up 57 DraftKings points in only 29 minutes earlier this season against the Spurs, for whatever that's worth. He was 10-2 on the last slate, dropped 63 DraftKings points against the Suns, and his price tag is still the same today. So I like saving some salary, saving over $2,000 and playing Trae Young over Luka. If I'm going to pay up for a point guard, it's probably going to be Luka, or Trae Young's going to be the guy that I go to at 10-2 on DraftKings. Yahoo, it's probably different there. Young is a lot cheaper than Luka. He's $11 cheaper. But the pricing on Yahoo is very soft. You can usually find a lot of value, just a lot of underpriced players. So if you want to get to Luka on Yahoo, it is much easier to do so over there. If Porzingis remains out, Luka will definitely be a priority for me on Yahoo. On DraftKings, if Porzingis is out, I will try and get to Luka, but it just kind of depends on what value we have. I don't want to force in bad value plays. If there's no value there, I just won't play it. So just kind of have to wait and see. But then other point guards like Kyle Lowry, very favorable spot against the Wizards, but 8,800. Don't know if I really want to pay that price tag for him, especially now that the Raptors are starting to get healthy. Siakam's back. Fred VanVleet has a chance to return today. Marc Gasol's back as well. The guy that I like in this mid-range at point guard, not sure what his ownership's going to be. The price tag's coming up on him, but I really like Ja Morant at $8K against the Cavs. He's been pretty expensive the last few slates. I can't remember what his ownership was on last slate against Houston. I think it was pretty low, if I'm not mistaken. He was 7,600 against the Rockets, put up 48 DraftKings points, had 26 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal. Morant's just been playing at such a high level recently. The minutes are starting to be there as well. He played 37 minutes last game against the Rockets. Like we kind of saw at the beginning of the season, they were limiting Morant to like 30, 31 minutes. Like lately, 34 minutes, 37 minutes. Seems like he's going to play like 34, 35 minutes if the game is close. This game against the Cavs, I think it can stay close. I don't think Memphis is going to blow out the Cavs. I mean, right now this game does have a 229 total. I don't know if we have a spread yet. Memphis is favored by 8. That's just what I'm seeing on Yahoo. So I think this game can stay close enough to where Morant plays his full minutes. Like, he's been a very productive player this season. He's averaged over a fantasy point per minute. The matchup is fantastic. Cavs have been terrible defensively versus point guards. If you just look at DVP stats, they're one of the worst defensive teams versus the position. I really like Ja Morant on both sides. He's one of my favorite plays today. I hope people overlook him. I don't think they will, especially with how well he's been playing recently. I do expect him to get some ownership, but I'm kind of fine with that. I just like the matchup so much for Morant, and I think there's a lot of upside for him in this spot. So he really stands out in that mid-range at point guard. Malcolm Brogdon also stands out again. Like, he was pretty popular on the last slate. He had a solid game for his price, put up 37 DraftKings points at a $6,700 salary. He played 31 minutes in that game. Just in his 2 games back from injury, Brogdon's played 34, 31 minutes, 46 and 37 DraftKings points. Like, he's close to an 8K player when he's fully healthy. We're still getting a good discount on him. It's a really good matchup against the Timberwolves. Fast-paced team. They rank 4th in pace this season. Defensively, they've been improving recently, but I still like the pace-up spot here for the Pacers guys. Getting Brogdon in a pace-up matchup doesn't put him on my radar, so I'm fine plugging him into the early core as well on DraftKings. You could go to him on Yahoo as well. He's at $28, but just given the $2 difference between him and Morant, I think I'll just try and play Morant over Brogdon. $1,000 difference between the two. Like, if you want to, you can get up to Morant. I think playing both guys though makes plenty of sense. Like, both guys do stand out quite a bit for me. In the 6K range though, like, not much stands out here. Jarrett Culver with Jeff Teague now traded to the Hawks. Like, we could see Jarrett Culver pick up some more minutes. He has been playing much better recently. He's up to $5,900 though on DraftKings, which is a pretty hefty price tag to pay for Jarrett Culver, who's like not a great fantasy point per minute player overall. So even with Teague out, I probably wouldn't want to go there. I think with Teague traded, that makes me have a lot of interest in Shabazz Napier. He's only 5K on DraftKings. He's just really cheap overall on this slate. If we go over to Yahoo and look at their pricing, you got Shabazz Napier at $13. I like him quite a bit as a value play today. I think with Jeff Teague now traded, that's going to open the door for Shabazz Napier to play probably 34, 36 minutes if I had to guess. Like, when Teague was out, like, Napier was getting 30, 32 plus minutes. I mean, he's been getting recently with Teague playing 27, 29 minutes. I think Teague's been closing out games over him, which is obviously taking some minutes away from Napier. Now that Teague's off the roster, he's no longer on the team. That's going to open the door for Napier to get more minutes. He's been a productive player this season when given the minutes as well. Like, he can average a fantasy point per minute. Karl-Anthony Towns, still don't know yet if he's going to play. If Towns is out, that's obviously a boost for a lot of these guys because, I mean, Towns is a high-usage player. Getting him off the floor is going to be a boost, but we can just look at the rates this season for Shabazz Napier. We can take Jeff Teague off the floor. I guess we could take Towns off the floor as well, just assuming he remains out. And look at the numbers. I'm pretty sure Napier's been close to a fantasy point per minute player, if not more. He's played 459 minutes with both Teague and Towns off the floor. Yeah, pretty much a fantasy point per minute, 21% usage rate. Looking at assist percentage, 32%, near 33% assist percentage. Like, I really like Shabazz Napier now that Teague's off the team and no longer on the team. It's going to open the door for him to play more minutes, just get more opportunities. So going with the 3-point guard lineup today, I like Morant, Brogdon, and Napier. All those guys definitely stand out on today's slate, just in my opinion. Under 5K, though, for value at point guard, there really isn't much here that I like in terms of value play. So I guess we can move on to shooting guard now and talk about this position. At the top, you got Zach LaVine, $8,700 against the Sixers. Definitely a tough spot for Zach LaVine. I did like him quite a bit on the last slate, especially on Yahoo. Like, he was really favorably priced on Yahoo. He was like $37 against the Wizards. Had a really big game, 48.9 fantasy points in 32 minutes. This is definitely a tough spot against the Sixers. We know the Sixers are a really good defensive team. I just don't know if I want to pay that hefty price tag for LaVine on today's slate given the tough matchup. Like, he's always a guy that has upside. But I think, especially like when you can save salary, you can save nearly $1,000 and play Jimmy Butler. You can save over $1,000 and play Bradley Beal. Like, those are the guys that really stand out to me if I'm going to pay up a shooting guard. Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, like, both of these guys feel underpriced today. I would say it's a relatively tough spot for both guys, but Butler at $7,800, I do have quite a bit of interest in. Bradley Beal especially, $7,600. That's an incredibly cheap price tag for Bradley Beal. Like, this is a guy that we've paid over $9K for pretty much all season. He's been struggling recently, without a doubt. Like, his last two games, only 27 minutes played, 32, 34 DraftKings points. Like, he's not getting the heavy minutes that he was getting at the beginning of the season. So I guess it's a bit risky, but there's so much upside for Beal at this salary. Like, for what it's worth, I mean, he put up 57 DraftKings points in 39 minutes when he faced the Raptors earlier this season. Like, there's easy 50-plus point upside for Beal if he gets his full minutes today. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Like, these games lately have been competitive. Like, I mean, they lost to the Jazz by 11, kind of a close game. Lost to the Bulls by 9, that's a close game. And Beal's only getting 27 minutes, which is a concern. But the price is coming way down. That kind of takes away the risk, in my opinion, or at least lowers the risk, I should say. Like, if Beal was still 9K, probably wouldn't be looking to him today. But now that his price is coming down to 7,600 on DK, like, I do have some interest in Bradley Beal. I think Josh Richardson, wanted to talk about him on Yahoo. He's $22 at shooting guard. Definitely stands out there. Like, I'd probably play him over a lot of the guys in that price range. He's just been playing really well recently with Joel Embiid off the floor. Last 4 games with Embiid off, 33, 34, 35, and 36 minutes. 41, 15, bad game, but then 41, 31, 34 fantasy points. Been really relatively productive, a fantasy point per minute player. So he's in play at 6,600. I do like him. I do have some interest in him today. More so on Yahoo, though, at $22. 6,600 on DK. There's probably other guys I would rather play in that price range. Dylan Brooks is in a really good matchup. He's up to 5,800, though, on DraftKings, which is kind of a hefty price tag. Don't know if I would consider him like a really good play at that salary. Like, shooting guard's kind of a gross position. Like, I wish one of these guys had shooting guard eligibility, but they don't. I feel like probably going to be looking to Beal. I might take a shot on him. Wiggins, you could always take a look at, especially if Towns remains out. But, like, Wiggins has actually been so bad recently. Maybe with Jeff Teague off the floor, that's going to help him a little bit, allow him to handle the ball more. But he's been playing 30-plus minutes, and the production's just been so bad for Andrew Wiggins. Just hasn't been doing much offensively. Definitely a little bit risky of a play, in my opinion. Yeah, shooting guard kind of sucks today. There's really not a lot that I see that really stands out. So maybe we'll get some injury news or something and could open up some value here. Like Fred VanVleet, let's see what Norman Powell's price tag is. I know Norman Powell came off the bench last game. See how many minutes he played. 27 minutes off the bench, 26 draft points. Like, maybe if Fred VanVleet remains out, you could go to Norman Powell, especially in a good matchup against the Wizards. But that's probably it for shooting guard. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward now. At this position, you got the Philly guys at the top who have been playing really well recently with Joel Embiid out. Ben Simmons is up to 9,300 on DraftKings. I'll probably look elsewhere today. There's just other guys I would rather play. Like, Simmons needs to go for over 50 DraftKings points to be even like a good tournament play at this salary. Obviously, he has that kind of upside in him. But there's just other guys I like. It's small forward. Like Jimmy Butler for 1,500 less, I would probably rather play over Simmons. Tobias Harris is coming off a monster game, and now his price is up to 8,300. Like, that's just another guy that I'll shy away from now that the price is coming up. Like, just give me guys like Butler, Beal, who are much better. Like, these two guys are much better fantasy point per minute players than Harris, and they're a lot cheaper as well. So I prefer to go to those guys at small forward. In this mid-range, I mean, like OG, I think, had a relatively good game last game. 39 minutes against OKC, 41 DraftKings points. I don't expect that to happen again, but he's 5,200. He's somewhat cheap. It's a really good matchup against the Wizards. Like, you could go to OG in this mid-range at small forward. For value, I mean, the value really sucks today. Like, Malise Tybal, I'm pretty sure he got the start last game. Played 27 minutes, had 22 DraftKings points. He did get into some foul trouble in that game. I mean, he's up to 4K, which isn't a great price tag for Tybal, but if he's going to stick in the starting lineup and play around 30 minutes, especially given the lack of value that we have right now, like Tybal could be in play with not with John Morant, but with Jay Crowder out last game. Kyle Anderson did start, but he really didn't do anything. 17 minutes, 7 DraftKings points. Probably don't want to go there. Like small forward's kind of gross as well. Not much stands out. I think the guys at the top here, like this upper 7K range with Butler, Beal, like these are the guys that stand out to me the most as small forward today. Let's go ahead and move on to power forward, though. I think this is a much more appealing position. Got Domantas Sabonis at the top, 8,600 on DraftKings. In the same matchup he just played in last game against Minnesota, he gets to face them again today. And he did just put up 58 DraftKings points against the Timberwolves, had 29 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal. Did all that in 36 minutes. Like, Sabonis is still affordable today. He is a really good power forward option. Like, I'd much rather play him over Tobias Harris. Factoring him and Simmons, like, I'd rather play Sabonis for less than Simmons. I think it's really easy to get to Sabonis on Yahoo. Like, he's $37. Really stands out as one of the better power forward options over there, especially with how soft the pricing is. It's pretty easy to get in the studs that you want over on Yahoo. So I like Sabonis a ton on Yahoo. On DraftKings, I like him quite a bit as well. Al Horford, another guy that I like a ton on Yahoo, given their soft pricing. $30 for Horford does feel a little bit too cheap. I mean, this is a really good spot against the Bulls. This is a matchup I've targeted all season. Bigs against the Bulls has pretty much been a gold mine. I'm not going to stop here, especially now that we know like Embiid's going to be out for a while. I expect Horford to continue to put up very solid numbers. Just the last 4 games with Joel Embiid out, Horford's played at least 32 minutes in every game and has put up at least 35 fantasy points in every game. So he has been very consistent recently with Embiid off the floor. Whenever he gets good matchups, like Horford can put up solid numbers. We saw him put up good numbers against Brooklyn. That was a really good matchup. Gets another good matchup today against the Bulls. And one positive as well is that Horford is he's still power forward on Yahoo. It's not like you're having to use one of your center spots to roster Horford. So love him at $30 on Yahoo. On DraftKings, he's in play, just not as much of a priority at 7,500. I think I would rather save salary and play a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge definitely stands out to me today in this matchup against the Hawks. Aldridge, I'll just go out and say it, like this is usually a guy I don't play. I mean, I think I've maybe played Aldridge like 3 or 4 times this season. I just don't play him when the team's fully healthy. But now we get him in a really good matchup, and the price is pretty reasonable as well. So I do have quite a bit of interest in LaMarcus Aldridge. I know he's been like performing pretty poorly recently. The production's been bad. You just look at the game log. I mean, he's got under like 29, 30, 24, 20 DraftKings points. Like those were really bad games. He did have a 39-point game against Memphis. But I don't really take game logs into account much. Aldridge is still a fantasy point per minute player. Still has the second highest usage rate on this team. Like we can look at the numbers. I mean, if you look at his numbers from like the last 2 weeks, they're not going to look great. But just on the season, I mean, he still has very solid fantasy numbers. Still has a 23% usage rate, averaging 1.11 fantasy points per minute. Great matchup against the Hawks. We know how good this matchup is. The Hawks are playing at a top 10 pace this season. They rank 8th in pace. Defensive rating, one of the worst defensive teams, ranking 26th in defensive rating. Really good matchup for Aldridge. The price is very reasonable on him on both sides. He's power forward and center eligible on DraftKings, which is very appealing, 7,100. Like him quite a bit over there. On Yahoo, he's at center, which sucks, but he's $26, which is also a very appealing price tag. So I have some interest in LaMarcus Aldridge today in this matchup. I think he can have a lot of success against the Hawks. We just know how favorable this matchup is. Centers have killed the Hawks this season, and I don't expect that to stop today. Like, if Aldridge was ever to get out of his funk that he's been in recently, like this would be the spot for him to do it. So really like him. I talked about Sabonis. Horford I like as well. Pascal Siakam, you could definitely target. Like he's been not great since returning from injury. 30 minutes in both games. He's played 2 games since coming back. 30 minutes in both, 27, 37 DraftKings points. Like hasn't put up very solid numbers, but the price tag is still very low on a guy like Siakam who has a ton of upside. Like this is a 9K player when he's healthy, so getting him at 7,900 against the Wizards definitely makes him a really solid option as well. I feel safer going up to Sabonis or going to like Horford or Aldridge, but in tournaments you're going to get Siakam incredibly low owned. Like he was 3% owned on the last slate, which I know it didn't work out, but getting Pascal Siakam under 10% owned on a like that was a kind of a short slate, and he was, or what, I don't know if it was a short slate, but he was still like 4 or 5% owned. Like, that's crazy getting Siakam that low owned when he's under 8K when he's at this salary. If he comes in low owned again, that's a stand I'd want to take in tournaments. Just be overweight on him, and I feel like the risk is, or the kind of reward outweighs the risk right now. Just the guy still has a ton of upside, especially in this matchup. But then other power forwards, really not much in the mid-range that catches my eye besides the guys I've already talked about. Like Melo is fine at 6,200. OG you could go to. For cheap plays at power forward, there really isn't much that stands out. Like if you want to play someone like Cedi Osman against the Grizzlies, pace-up spot, he's always a guy you could consider, but his upside is just so minimal. Like rarely are you going to get a 30-plus point game from Cedi Osman. Most games he's going to be between like 25 or 20, 25 fantasy points. But right now the value is kind of lacking on the slate, so I could see going to him as a cheap play, but that's probably it for power forward in terms of value. So let's go ahead and move on to center now. We'll just hit on center real quick before we end the video. So looking at the center position, you got Towns at the top for 10-5. Like I've said, the last 10, 15 slates, he's been questionable. He still hasn't played yet. I'm assuming he's going to be out again. Even if he plays, I expect Towns will be limited, so really don't need to talk about him. Sabonis I talked about, I do like him quite a bit. Whiteside I think you can definitely target, especially if Porzingis remains out. Like Whiteside should be able to bully Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber. Like I would definitely have interest in Whiteside if Porzingis is out. I'd probably prefer him over Bam. I think I'd still lean Sabonis over Whiteside, but it would be pretty close. Both guys I do have quite a bit of interest in. You could go to Siakam here. You could go to Al Horford. Joe Val always presents you with a lot of upside. Against Cleveland, you could definitely see him put up a solid game. So at 6,900, I'd like him for tournaments. Miles Turner don't really want to go to with Sabonis healthy. Like his ceiling, his floor is just so much lower when Sabonis is out there taking like usage away. If Porzingis remains out, then Dwight Powell you could consider. He's been putting up very consistent numbers recently with Porzingis out. Been playing big minutes as well. 37, 33, 29 DK points the last 3 games. He's still incredibly cheap on Yahoo. Like he's $12 on Yahoo. If we do get the news before lock that Porzingis is going to be out again, like I would definitely like Dwight Powell as a value play at his $12 salary on Yahoo. But if Porzingis plays, really have no interest there. But I do want to talk about Marc Gasol. So he is incredibly cheap today. 4,800 on DraftKings. He played really well in his first game back from injury. He also got big minutes. He played 32 minutes against OKC and had 33 DraftKings points. He was very productive in that game, and now he gets a great matchup today against the Wizards. He did start that game as well. The Raptors did go with a really weird starting lineup. They started Pascal Siakam at small forward, Serge Ibaka at power forward, and then Gasol at center, so they played a really big lineup. I don't know if that's what they do today. I'm assuming Gasol sticks in the starting lineup, which definitely going to make him a really good value at this salary, especially given that he played 32 minutes and was not limited at all. Plus, it's a fantastic matchup against the Wizards. Like, sign me up for Marc Gasol at 4,800. Like, this is a guy that we were paying nearly 6K for. I know Serge Ibaka's been out for these games, but like still, we were paying nearly 6K for Gasol, and now we're getting him at 4,800, fully healthy against the Wizards. Like, he looks like one of the better values at centers, and honestly, just one of the better overall value plays on the slate. I mean, Gasol, I think I can look at his rates. He's still been a fantasy point per minute player this season, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll check that just real quick. We could take Fred VanVleet off the floor, since VanVleet, I'd assume he's out today, but that'll be just something worth monitoring. Let's see. Gasol's played 223 minutes. Yeah, pretty much a fantasy point per minute player. 0.98 fantasy points per minute. Like, if he's going to get 30 minutes, he probably projects for like 30 DraftKings points in this matchup, which makes him very appealing at 4,800. I think Gasol's really cheap on Yahoo as well. Yeah, $17. You can definitely target him on Yahoo at $17 as a value play. If Thomas Bryant were to get more minutes, I'd have interest in him, but they're just limiting his minutes right now. 15 minutes, 12 minutes. I assume he sticks to that kind of similar minutes limit, so really don't want to go there unless we get different news than that. But yeah, guys, that's kind of what I'm seeing for center today, and that's what I'm liking on this, or at this position and on this slate. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. As always, greatly appreciate you watching. Before you get out of here, make sure you do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, and click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. As always, you can also follow me on Twitter, link down below at DFS by Noah. And if you want to check out my Patreon and see all the exclusive content I do have to offer, you can definitely do so. My Patreon is linked down below. If you do become a member by the start of Friday's slate, you will be able to access the $100 free roll contest. You will be able to access the link to join. Have a chance to win potentially $50. It's going to be $50 to first place, and $30 to second, $20 to third. So got a free roll running tomorrow for the Patreon members. If you want to check everything I have check everything out over there that I have to offer, get access to my article, my updated core plays, get in the Discord chat. So much content is going up on Patreon throughout the day. So check that out. Drop a like, subscribe. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you probably Monday. Don't think I'll have a video up for the weekend slates, but I'll definitely be back for Monday's slate. Peace, guys.